Welcome to City Services Monthly. I'm your host, Donnie Turlington. Joining me this month is Zack Matheny, the newly named president of Downtown Greensboro Incorporated. I can't keep saying newly named because it's been a couple of months now, but does it still feel like it's fresh and new to you?
I like the term retired city council member.
How long that retirement lasts? About 2 days?
About 2 days.
Yeah. Well, Zack, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. It's been hectic, I know, for you with all the work that you've been doing, but we appreciate you spending time with us on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I don't think that we can accurately talk about your role with Downtown Greensboro without talking about your role as a council member. Mm-hmm. So for our, and I think our viewers who are watching this program certainly have seen you as a council member over the last 8 years, mm-hmm. And they've seen you, especially if they live downtown, they've seen you at different events for the last 10 or 12 years probably. With the way that you've been involved in our community. Talk about that role and what that was like for you as a council member in representing the people of Greensboro.
Let's take it a step even further back. Today as I sit here, I'm 42 years old, but when I moved here 15 years ago, I was one of those young professionals that all of people, not necessarily me, but that age group that we want to recruit, retain to our cities, our right. communities. And one of the things that I felt at home at Greensboro was everybody wanted you to be there. We are a very inclusive community. And so before I was a city council person, I actually created a couple of things to help young professionals have a seat at the table. One of those things was working with the Synergy Group of Action Greensboro, and I developed an event called Making Connections Around the Table, where we blended the young professionals with folks that we want to have a seat at the table with, leaders of our community, from John Swafford at the ACC to, at the time, Dennis Glass, who's CEO of Lincoln Financial, sure. and others. We also did a Can't Wait for the Ballpark committee when the new ballpark was being discussed and a referendum was happening about what that might mean for our community to expand our downtown, which led to, in 2007, to running for city council and to represent the city of Greensboro and the citizens of Greensboro and to evoke change in a positive direction as an elected official. It's been a tremendous experience. I said when I retired that it almost feels a little bit like the Truman Show, because when I came here, I was just a young professional that cared about the community. And I think the community, in a lot of ways, kind of saw me grow up in the community right. and mature. And so it just shows the inclusiveness of the city of Greensboro and, rolling up your sleeves and giving back and what can happen. And what an honor.
During your time on city council, certainly representing District 3, where downtown is located, you were an advocate for downtown. And at times you were also critical of things that happened in downtown because you wanted to see things grow and evolve in different ways. When did it start to become a desire of yours to eventually lead the Downtown Greensboro organization? Did it happen over time, or was it just something that sort of, when the opportunity struck, you kind of said, hey, instead of finding somebody else to put there, I think I can do this job too?
That's a great question, because I wasn't looking. I was fine. I had a successful real estate financial firm, and I was fine with my fourth term as a city council member, was ready to run for my fifth term. And then I had a couple of board members approach me, because I had been critical of the organization. The criticisms come from the desire to have downtown Greensboro, and quite frankly, the Greensboro community as a whole, reach our potential.
Right.
And you hear about how great Charlotte and Raleigh and lately Durham has blown up and been tremendous. And so when we were having some strategic discussions about what Downtown Greensboro Incorporated can do, I had folks look at me and say, you know what this needs, you have the passion to lead it, would you consider it? And at first I was like, what do you mean? And then I went home and we talked about it, and I said, I would like that consideration. But I want to apply just like anybody else would apply and go through the process and make it the right way. And fortunately enough, the board chose me.
What's it like now that as people are watching this, you're roughly almost 3 months into your tenure. What's it like now being on the other side of the coin, so to speak? And as a council member, you had your ideas for the way things needed to be done. Now you're the guy that's implementing and driving those ideas. What's it like for you?
It's a self-imposed pressure. It's a pressure from, obviously, the constituents of downtown and the community. And so I like and thrive off the pressure of saying, okay, you wanted this job, now you got it. Now let's see what's going to
Be
happen.
careful what you wish for, kind of
Careful what you wish for. I called it the ultimate put up or shut up kind of moment. And what we've seen in these first few months is making all the criticisms that I've heard over the last 8 years, in particular the last few, and quite frankly, thriving on the potential of what Greensboro is going to see the next 2, 3, and 5 years. And it's such an exciting time to be in Greensboro and to be where I'm at in downtown Greensboro. I didn't realize how much I would love it, and it's the perfect fit for me.
Sure. Talk about that potential, because I've heard you talk about potential for a while now as it relates to downtown. What is that potential for folks that may not understand quite? When you see potential and when you see that 2 or 3 year vision, what is it that you see?
Well, we're going to have a dynamically different downtown. We've got over $300 million of new investment, private and public, that's going to change the landscape, the skyline of our downtown. We've got events, the National Folk Festival being one, where 80 to 100,000 people are going to come or be here this year, and then in future years it's going to continue to grow. Up to the third year, maybe 150,000 people being here. But then there's more events. There's growth. And when I look at downtown, I've started putting it in compartments of where we're going, how we are going to strategically grow. And as the Downtown Greensboro organization, what can we do to complement everything? And there are a lot of strategic initiatives in which we need to partake in and, quite frankly, lead.
Sure. Well, and that's a good segue, because the next question I had was, I've heard you mention, since you've been in the role too, that you want downtown Greensboro to be more out front in leading these discussions. Talk about that a little bit.
It started off when my first day on the job, I found out that there was a partnership that was created where, and maybe the organization Downtown Greensboro Incorporated would just write a check and pay somebody else to do stuff. And the first thing I said was, you know what, if Downtown Greensboro Incorporated is going to participate, we need to own it. We need to be involved. We got to roll up our sleeves. And we've done everything from host meetings to discuss sensitive issues. We've discussed development issues. We've painted street and crosswalks to be more active in our approach. And I think that what you're going to continue to see is a groundswell of volunteers that want to get behind the mission and the goal to beautify our city and to create a vibrant city.
Right. As part of your first 60 to 90 days in your new role, I know one of the things you've tried to do, I've seen quotes from you that says, the first thing I do is I have to lace up my shoes every day because I got to get out and walk and talk to everybody. What are you hearing specifically from business owners downtown?
Where you been? Where's the organization been? What does the organization do? Thank you for being here. And I'm in the back. On the other thing, I need to buy a more comfortable pair of shoes. I'm going to get through these pretty quick. And this Fitbit I have on, I get my 10,000 steps in a day. Yeah. But really, it's what can I do to help you as a retailer, as a restaurateur, as a resident living downtown, as a future resident that may live downtown. And one time recently, it was a large corporation that's looking to recruit folks to come work with them downtown from outside of our region. How can I help those companies land those employees to come work in downtown Greensboro? And that's a different thing, because we've heard that it's tough to recruit people to move to Greensboro.
Right.
And we got to change that perception and make it easy.
Right. So far, you may not have gotten too far into major initiatives yet, but I have to imagine that at points in time there's going to be that opportunity to work with the city on different projects, and I like to think the city is a big part of your plans moving forward. What's it like now coming back into City Hall from time to time, not as a council member, but as the president of DGI? I got to believe it's more beneficial to you knowing that you've got the relationships with the staff and with the people that you need in order to help us work together.
Having those relationships with city staff is instrumental in Downtown Greensboro Incorporated, the city of Greensboro, thriving together. We've gone so far as to arrange weekly meetings to make sure that all the projects that our organization is working on fit with the projects that the city of Greensboro is working on, and so that we can grow together and make sure there's good communication, and so that we can implement ideas. It's great to have ideas, but if you don't implement the ideas just kind of flounder. And so the relationship's coming back. I see council folk, my former fellow colleagues, city staff. I spent a lot of time with David Parrish, who's great, and Adam Fisher and Jim Westmoreland, and Steve Drew's excited about water in downtown Greensboro. And it's great to have those relationships. And I think most importantly, the sense of trust. The sense of trust between the two organizations due to those previous relationships. And trust is something you earn.
Sure.
And so it's there, and that's vital.
Yeah. Well, Zach, I appreciate your time so far. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute with Zack Matheny. Welcome back to City Services Monthly. I'm your host, Donnie Turlington. Again, we are joined this month by Zack Matheny, president of Downtown Greensboro Incorporated. Zack, when we left off, you were talking about a lot of potential that Downtown Greensboro has, and it just seems to me from my side of the table that there's a lot on your plate to have to accomplish, and I know you've kind of got those things compartmentalized into a strategy. Talk a little bit about that.
It is. I had to put 5 compartments together to maintain sanity in what we're trying to do, because it is all hands on deck. There's a lot of excitement downtown. So in brief, you've got the development compartment. And underneath the development compartment is obviously the Tango Performing Arts Center, the LeBauer Park, Union Square, Belmead Village. But there's other shops I met with today. Was a $300,000 building that some just guys are buying and going to do. And so we've got a tremendous amount of development, and it's also creating an environment for other people to want to invest in downtown. So in doing that, you look at, okay, how is our infrastructure? You mentioned my relationships with the city staff and city council. Infrastructure is a key thing. Parking, for one thing. People say there's not enough parking. How do you schedule the parking? Our roadways, our sidewalks. How can we widen our sidewalks? And so infrastructure is key. Beautification. We need to make sure you've got a beautiful downtown. People want to be part of something beautiful, successful, bright, vibrant. Whether it's the new Welcome to Downtown Greensboro signs, right, whether it's the new flowers, our beautiful hanging baskets, lighting up soon, in a couple of months, the holiday, and the Festival of Lights, and making sure that we have a beautiful downtown. Marketing. How can Downtown Greensboro Incorporated make sure that we're marketing Downtown Greensboro everywhere? Not our organization, but to make folks understand that Downtown Greensboro. Where am I going to go to dinner? Downtown Greensboro. Where do I want to go shop? Downtown Greensboro. Right. And how can we create events to bring people to Downtown Greensboro? And then you wrap that around with public safety, working with our GPD, our fire, to make sure that we have a safe downtown. We have an excellently safe downtown, but sometimes you got to fight perception. And so those 5 compartments together will make a vibrant downtown.
As as our viewers are watching this, in some cases the National Folk Festival has already occurred. But one of the things that I know that has happened leading up to the Folk Festival has been a lot of work to continue to make downtown a more beautiful place to come and visit. And one of the things that DGI has been instrumental in is new banners that are going to go out on all the light poles and throughout the city. That's just one example, but the bigger question is, how do you use an event like the Folk Festival to help think about ways to continue to build and evolve downtown? Is that something that comes into play for you all? Will there kind of be a debrief after the Folk Festival to say, okay, this worked well, this didn't, what else can we do down the road to, when we have that 100,000 people that are there that are our captive audience, how can we capitalize on that?
The great thing for me as an idealist looking to implement is have an event like the National Folk Festival. The greatest thing about the National Folk Festival from that perspective is that it creates a deadline, a sense of urgency. So we take those ideas to implementation. New banners, our banners, people don't think much of banners, but it creates a sense of vibrancy and identity.
Right.
And what we did at downtown Greensboro was we bought new banner hardware, worked with some other our partners, Action Greensboro, Arts Greensboro, to create those new banners. You might have seen fence wraps. And so fence wraps, you think, God, that's nothing sexy about that. But we took art that was archived at North Carolina A&T University, and we created fence wraps around it, around areas to beautify those areas. But it's also the Welcome to Greensboro sign, or Welcome to Downtown Greensboro. It creates that sense of urgency. And then when you have an event like that, you say, okay, we debrief. How can we make it better? And I would equate it to what Bobby Long does with the Wyndham Championship. This was great. Let's make it A+. Let's make it A++. So what can we do to continue to make it better? And having that deadline, you keep things from floundering.
Right, right. And you know, the Wyndham is actually an interesting analogy that we could use. I think without the effort that Bobby Long and Mark Brazel and that team has done over the years to make the Wyndham what it is, Tiger probably would not have considered the Wyndham as a place to come in the past. But you see that kind of work ultimately pay off this past year with Tiger coming to town. You never know what the Folk Festival and other things lead to in the future for downtown when you bring people here and they see what a great city we have.
Exactly. You know, National Folk Festival, we have kind of some Tiger Woods type. You got Mavis Staples, tremendous name to have in the first year of the docket of the National Folk Festival. Rihanna Giddens, Greensboro's own, is going to come to the National Folk Festival. They're going to have a great time. And so we want them back next year. But who's the next one?
Right.
And how can we get them bigger? And if we have a program and an event that comes off, as well as I believe the National Folk Festival exists for this community and for those visiting, and we keep challenging ourselves to implement, we've got a lot of excitement going back to the development compartment of folks wanting to invest in downtown because they see it.
Yeah.
There's a vibe in downtown, and we got to take advantage of it.
I've heard you mention before the cool factor, trying to bring the cool factor back. What is the cool factor in your opinion?
You know, the cool factor is, creating some of the little things that will add up. I've tried to meet with folks that are the young professionals, the 22s to 28 to 30, and listen to what they like and what they want to see, and then taking an idea here and an idea there and trying to implement it. Whether it's just painting crosswalks instead of having normal red fake brick crosswalks,
Right.
to do something different. Or if it's to put lights and trees, and so it's more festive, not just at the holidays, but all year round.
Yeah.
Taking our alleyways and looping lights and making them service so restaurants can come in and actually serve in alleyways. Instead of being scared of an alley, you want to visit the alley. And bringing those little cool factors in and implementing. We've got to stop talking so much. It's time for us to implement.
Right. You've touched on this before. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $350 million of investment is occurring in downtown now between LeBauer Park, Tanger Center, Union Square, some of the other apartment residences that are being created. You look at downtown now, you compare it to next summer, and you compare it to the summer after, and then 3 years downtown is changing drastically just in the way you mentioned the skyline is going to change. That's got to be exciting to be the guy that's in charge of sort of promoting all of that.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't get a phone call or I'm in a meeting that somebody's saying, Zach, tell me what's all going on with downtown Greensboro. I'm looking to invest. I've had 3 meetings recently where people are considering a 100,000 square foot building. That's 5 stories tall. Now my goal is if I can get those 3 people to come together and maybe do it together, then you've got a 15-story tall building downtown. That's the type of excitement we're seeing.
So what's next on the horizon? As you've mentioned the 2 to 3 to 5 years, but what's next for you all as downtown Greensboro in the very near future? Anything on the horizon that you want to?
We want to continue to pound the pavement. We want to make sure the folks know that downtown Greensboro Incorporated is here to help them. We got to continue to pound outside and say, come invest in our community. Pound from within and say, continue to invest in our community. We're at 1,800 residents downtown. I want to be at 10,000. Urban lifestyle living is here. It's not going anywhere. It's going to continue to enhance and grow. And if we continue to come with the quality of life, with the quantity of life downtown, the vibrancy within our city will be tremendous.
Well, Zach, congratulations on the new opportunity. We appreciate so much the service that you have given over the last many years to the city of Greensboro, and best of luck to you in the future in downtown Greensboro.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and having me back when some of these buildings go up.
Sounds good. That's a deal. That's all the time we have for this month's edition of City Services Monthly, but thanks for watching Greensboro Television Network, and we'll see you again in October.